Alrighty, well, hello world. My name's Ian, and I guess I'm starting a YouTube channel. Alright, so the first thing in order here is to get this stuff mounted to be able to test fit the door. Now, in order to test fit the door, I'm gonna need to get these clamps out of the way. In order to get those out of the way, gotta get something flat in there. In comes the self-tappers. So, get self-tappers. We'll go into the flanges in order to keep everything together while we test fit things. Now what we want to do is we want to be able to use these self-tappers when we're welding to be able to take them out and put them in places of spot welds and everything. So make a little sense little more sense once I start doing it. But the goal here is to be able to mark where all the spot welds go and then start putting self-tappers. Then from there we'll be able to fit the door and make sure everything fits. So stay tuned. All right, it's been a little bit since I updated everybody, so here we go. I've got the quarter panel and the rocker here self-tapped on just for right now. This makes it easier for me to be able to open and close this door because I wouldn't be able to without the with the clamps in the way. So I got the fender on, I got the door on, and here's what we do. We check to look and see if our body lines will match up. Now with the door, obviously there's no striker in here, so the latch will not be able to latch on anything. So we have to hold the door closed in order to check our body lines. Now here we can see that the top of the door matches the top of the quarter panel here. Now I know this gap is big, but let's hold on a second here. Let's go around the door. We have our body line down here compared to our body line to our quarter panel. Holding that close, you can see that is pretty much perfect. We then go down here to the gap in between the rocker and the door, and when I hold it closed, I run my finger across it, we can feel that it is exactly the same throughout the bottom. So you know the rocker is in the right place. Now, when we go up front here, you can see this gap from the door to the fender is pretty tight. You can also see here that the front of the door is a little bit higher than the fender. Now, there's a couple things that we can do here. One is we can adjust the fender to move it up or down a little bit. Fenders do have a little bit of adjustment to them. Loosen it, move it up and down, and do what we need to do here. Or we could take the door hinges, we could hit them down in the back a little bit to be able to, or hit them down in the front a little bit so that this will match up to here. But then they'll also bring our door down a little bit, which will then make this not line up. But here's what we need to do with everything. We need to take this whole door, we need to shift it back because this gap is tight and this gap is loose. But it is a constant gap, which is good. That means our door is in the right place, besides the fact that it just needs to move over or toward the back of the vehicle about, I don't know, we'll say 1/4 of an inch, which is not impossible to do. And let me get the fender off and I can show you how to do that. Okay, so now I installed the striker right there so that the door will now hold itself closed. The reason why I did that is because I'm by myself. Once I loosen these bolts, the whole door is going to want to drop if there's nothing supporting it from that side. So in order to keep it up and help myself the striker is now installed. Now the striker, you can tell here a little bit, let me go this way maybe, that the door is sitting higher than the quarter panel right now. That's okay because I just adjusted the striker up and down, not in and out. So there's some adjustment to that as well. But just to get this gap right here, all we got to do is loosen up these fasteners. There is 5 of them. They're all loose. And then you take something and lightly tap either the hinge, the back of the hinges, or the door to be able to push it back. Now, if you tap the door, be sure you don't tap it with something very hard, like a hard mallet or something. You should even be able to do it by hand a little bit. This door, I'm a little nervous of doing it with, so let me grab something, get like a pry bar and then a mallet, and then tap it a little bit. Let's see what happens here. All right, so I got my mallet and I got my pry bar. We're going to take and put our pry bar right on the edge here. Give it a couple taps. A little bit better. All right. A couple more taps maybe, and take a look at that door gap. So now we can see this door gap is much tighter than what it was. I can barely get my finger in there. Got skinny fingers, so it's a good way to tell. Barely get my finger in there. All the way down. Now it's a little tighter down here than what it is up here. And I'm not aiming for perfection here, but it's pretty good. Again, we can still see our body lines are pretty much matched up here. And the same down there. And just to give us a gauge here, I can barely get my finger in there. And if we go to the other side of the vehicle, side I haven't touched, I've never adjusted this door before. Stick my finger in here. And again, I can barely stick my finger in there. Now, if I could find my tape measure, I would actually measure it, but I can't find it. So, I'm gonna call this one a win. I'm gonna mount the fender one more time, check that gap, and once that's on, I'll get back to you guys. All right, so now we got that fender back on. We can still see this gap. It's pretty tight. It's a little loose here, but there's a bolt back there that I haven't put in yet. So, but you can see that it'll suck it in once it does. But still a nice tight gap. Our body line, well, we're gonna need to move this up a little bit, but again, that can be done. So a nice, it's not as tight as I'd like it to be, but it's not bad. It works. It will work. Door opens, door closes. I do need to adjust the hinges up just slightly now, but we have this all nice and tight down here. So I'm gonna call this a success. Door is pretty much where it's supposed to be, besides rotating it a little bit up. So just rotating that bottom, or pushing that bottom one, bottom hinge back. Keen viewers may have seen that up here, this glass does not line up at all. But there is actually an adjustment in the door to be able to adjust this glass forward and aft slightly. Now that is, I have to go inside the door to do that. I'm not going to do that right now, but I can adjust this later. This just needs to be moved up, or I guess rotated slightly, because here it's good and here it's not. So I guess rotated, that'd be counterclockwise a little bit in order to get this to fit. I also need to get whatever expanding foam the previous owner put in there. I think I got a new seal somewhere. I gotta double check that. But yeah, so we got everything fitted now. So let's take it all apart again and then start doing that rocker. You know that rocker's in the right place. You know that quarter panel's in the right place. And the cool thing is here is that the self-tappers here, since we have one through the quarter panel there, that also goes through the rocker. And we have another two on the bottom there, which go through the quarter panel and the rocker. We will know that when we take this quarter off, they will be in the exact same place, in the exact same position to the rocker panel that we're taking off right now. Obviously, with this being so very small screws, you're just number 8s. So I think that's like 3/16. I think 3/16. Don't quote me on that. Number 8 self-tappers. That this will be very, very accurate on where these all are. So you take the quarter off, take the door off, take the fender off, and then we can start getting everything prepped here to weld this rocker on. All right, just got everything apart again. Eyeballed it, but all those little white dots on there, all of those are going to be where a self-tapper is going to go, which is going to be a plug weld. As mentioned in the last video, there is a Harbor Freight spot welder over there that is junk. So I'm going to have to plug weld all these. I feel a lot more comfortable with that, especially since this part is structural. So I got my good old Hobart 140 over here. Gonna get all this prepped. Gonna end up grinding off some of this rush trap. I'm gonna end up putting zinc weld on there, also by SEM, whatever you want to call it, and then coat the back of this panel also with zinc weld. The purpose of that is so that the panel on the back side, from all the gases from welding getting heated, the coating that is on here is going to come off. So the zinc weld, when you are burning the metal, won't burn off the panels. So panels will be coated and the panels will have something to protect them from corrosion. So here we go. I'm going to start doing that. All right, so it looks like I've done a lot, but I really haven't right now. Currently, I am starting to zinc coat all of the places that I am going to weld. I already zinc coated down here. I'm waiting for that to dry. 20 minutes until you're supposed to be able to weld. And I zinc coated the entire back of this panel. And yeah, again, all this is just for corrosion resistance. This will not melt when you go and weld it. The nice part about this stuff, though, is that it dries very, very quick. The stuff from SEM only takes about 5 minutes to dry to the touch and 20 minutes till you can weld. And I've had other brands of stuff where you pretty much need to wait overnight until you can weld, which kind of sucks. But since stuff is meant for a commercial body shop, it does dry very quick. But yeah, thought I was going to be able to weld everything tonight, but it is currently 1 a.m. So Yeah. I'm probably just gonna get that on there, get it ready to be welded, and then after that, then, and only then, am I gonna go to bed. And I'll pick up tomorrow with welding everything, but we'll see how long a video goes for. I might need to make another intro or something. I feel like I can make these shorter, but I feel like I draw them out too much because I'm explaining too much or rambling, like now. All right, well, back to work. Alrighty, so it's next day. We're back in the garage here, doing what we gotta do. So where we left off yesterday, quarter panel is on. It is all self-tapped in, above and below. Nothing here or here yet, because the quarter panel goes on top of that and it'll only be welded together. Unfortunately, I run out of the SEM zinc weld primer here, so I had to go out and get some the Napa Martin Senior brand stuff. I was told this stuff works really good, pretty similar to the zinc weld, just a little cheaper and also local, thankfully. So I had a neighbor that used to work for Martin Senior, and he suggested it. So really what we're going to do first is we're going to weld up some of these holes that were drilled through. Some of these actually, you can tell, see the rust on the back of them. They were not me. Those were actually there when I took off the quarter panel. So crazily enough, that's how I knew that this quarter had been replaced before I even touched it. So you can see there someone used a spot weld drill bit for a couple things. I had a spot weld drill bit. I never used it. I didn't like using it because you need to be really accurate with it. So, and then grind off everything. Yeah, so pretty crazy there. This is gonna be the third quarter panel that's been on it. First one I found out was also a used quarter panel, so this will be the first brand new OEM quarter panel put on this car since 1991. Now, we're gonna grind off some of this rust from previous welding that didn't have any sort of corrosion protection to it. Not too big of a deal. We're just gonna grind it off with a die grinder and then put some zinc weld on it or some Zycron. I don't know what the hell that stuff's called. Doesn't really matter. But then from there we can get the quarter panel mounted. But first we're gonna need to weld the rocker panel. So order of events, I'm going to do clean that stuff up first, spray it with zinc weld so that stuff can dry, and once that stuff is dry, then and only then are we going to work on the rocker panel. I'll show you again the whole process that I go through there, and yeah, let's get to it. I'm going to try to put in more time lapses. I don't know how they're going to come out. Again, I don't have any of the media stuff. I literally just have a GoPro. I'm holding this in my hand. I don't have a tripod or anything, so we'll see how this stuff goes, see if I can get any good angles of this stuff. But again, maybe learn something from me doing it. Yeah, let's get to it. All right, so here we are. Got all the big holes plugged. The littler holes don't really bother me too much. Probably gonna end up putting a self-tapper through those anyways in order to hold the quarter panel on for the method I'm about to show you. But so we've got all this prepped, all this ground on flat. The back side doesn't matter too much being ground on flat, but it is coated, it was sanded, and now we're just waiting for that to dry. Now we move over to the rocker here, and the rocker has all of these sheet metal screws in it, and that is marking where each and every spot weld needs to go. Now I was going to try to use a spot welder because Harbor Freight sells them, and it would have been perfect for this job, but unfortunately it is junk. I'm not sure if the one I got either doesn't work or if it's just because it is 110. I'm not sure, but we're going with plug welds for this. It's gonna work, it's gonna be fine, and it's gonna be stronger than the factory spot welds if you do it right. Now here we go. The way that we're going to do this is we're going to take out every other sheet metal screw. I'm only going to show one because it's just going to be easier to do it that way. So we're going to start here with, pick your favorite, this one. There we go. Take that bad boy out of there. And from there, we can see, looking up here, that there are three sheets of metal. All right, so what we're going to do there is we're going to drill through the first two with a 1/4 inch drill bit. Again, the sheet metal screws we were using were number 8 sheet metal screws. We're going to drill through the first 2 layers of metal to be able to put our puddle for the welder, and then the back will be small enough to where we'll be able to close it very easily, because like I said, these are only maybe about 3/16 inch thick. So we're going to do that. We're just going to hook our drill in here. Alrighty, so the drill bit was just getting caught on some burrs here. I'm just going to clean those up. But as you can see, we are drilled through with a 1/4 inch drill bit. You can see still there's a smaller hole in back. Now from there, after I clean all this stuff up, what we're going to do is we're going to use the back here to be able to be the base of our puddle, and then slowly take the tip of our gun and just make a puddle. Now from there, that'll just fill all this up, and that will then make it all one cohesive unit. So let me clean up this hole and then get the welder and show you guys how it's done. Alrighty, now that I've screwed up a few times, I'm a little shaky. It's been a long time since I've done any spot welding or plug welding, but the way that you can do this, the way I've been doing this, is I've been using every other screw, or taking every other screw out and then welding where it was. So all you gotta do is you just been taking them out. They want to come out. Nice. All right. And since there are 2 layers of metal here, I know that because when I took it off, there was 1 layer, and then you put another layer on top. That's the rocker. You drill down 1 layer. You can almost hear when it hits that second layer. But now you've got your first layer as a base, and your second layer, your second layer as your first layer is your base, and your second layer as what you're going to be attaching it to. So all you got to do, you just got to take your MIG gun here, and you start from one of the sides. Let me take off a glove here. You're more easily able to show you here. You start from one of the sides, one of the shiny bits down there, and then you walk around in a circle until you're relatively level with the level of the rocker or whatever you're welding to. So I'm going to keep you a little far away because I value this GoPro. I'm going to start from the side. And walk around. And if you do it right, it should come out something like this, where it's relatively flat, shouldn't require any grinding, and it's gonna hold pretty good. So yeah, I'm just gonna continue to do this around the entirety of the rocker, on the top, bottom, and just keep it going. Alrighty, so I haven't even cleaned up the welds yet. The only thing I do is sweep up the floor because the screws were all annoying, but this is all welded on. A lot of these came out pretty good. They are pretty flat, especially when you get over here. Like, these were really decent. Now, I'm not gonna lie, a few of them definitely need to be ground down and dressed up a little bit, but that's okay. We have our seam here, our seam weld that we did, that even though a couple of these areas, I don't know why they came up a little bit higher than the rest of the welds, but that's okay. This will end up grinding down and grinding out anyways. So, but yeah, everything's all good. Everything is on there. I can, you know, grab the rocker and shake the whole car from it, and yeah, it's on there, so it's pretty exciting. Next thing to do after that is the quarter. So I'm probably gonna call it there. I think that these episodes are gonna be too long. I have no idea. I'm just out here doing it because I can only do, well, I shouldn't say I can only do garage stuff on the weekend. It's more so I can only do bigger stuff like this during the weekend. So I'm gonna probably next episode, what the fuck am I calling it? I don't know. What am I doing? Vlog? What do you call these? I don't know. Whatever. Yeah, well, next time you see me, next time I post a video, it'll probably be me putting on the quarter panel, using the same method that I just used. I'm not sure how much that you want to see, but also one thing to note, I'm not going to end up doing the around the wheel well because it's going to end up being cut up anyways. So it's going to be cut up and then hammered back, and for the wide body kit and make room for bigger tires. So all that is going to be done in the next episode, I guess. But yeah, I guess for right now, if you're still staying tuned and you tuned in for episode 2, that means I guess you probably liked episode 1 enough, or you just wanted to see me weld and do whatever. But yeah, we did what we had to do, did what we said we were going to do this weekend, and did it. So yeah, just gonna continue working until pretty much bedtime for me. My bedtime's pretty early. I gotta be up early for work. But yeah, cool. Enjoy yourselves. Don't do anything I wouldn't do, which isn't a long list, but thanks for sticking around.